reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
But I'd like to start this off by asking you, Vishnu, what you think about the whole question of India not having stealth fighters right now.
It's a huge
Everyone's
problem.
trying to sell them to us as well.
It's a huge problem, Shiv. Let's face it, in as much as we love the Rafale aircraft and the Indian Air Force is completely vouching for it, perhaps they'd like more than 100 more. The Indian Navy has just gotten into an order for 26 Rafale M aircraft. There is a generation gap between the Rafale and the stealth. There is a good reason why a stealth platform is called a 5th generation aircraft and a Rafale is a 4th or 4.5 generation aircraft, and that is low observability. So in as much as the Rafale has brilliant sensors, both in terms of its radar, its defensive suite, its electronic warfare suite, its towed array decoy system, it is not typically a low observability platform in quite the same manner in which a stealth aircraft is. Its design form is different. And therefore, if Pakistan does have low observable aircraft, which would be the J-35, in fact, the first ones might even start entering service or coming into the PAF ahead of entering service at some time this year, then India is in trouble.
So
why?
this year? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first could actually start coming in this year. They're really pushing for it. And they've gotten apparently into some agreement with the Chinese to ensure
You are watching The World 24/7 on the NDTV network. I'm Parmeshwar Bava. An action-packed bulletin lined up for you as always. Let's begin with the top headlines you need to know. The free trade agreement between India and the United Kingdom will be signed during Prime Minister Modi's visit to London today. 99% of Indian products will receive duty-free access to the UK market, covering nearly all of India's current trade value. 4 terrorists linked to Al-Qaeda involved in running a fake currency racket and spreading the global terror group's ideology have been arrested by the Gujarat Anti-Terrorist Squad. One of them was arrested from another state. India and China have reviewed the situation along the line of actual control and prepared the ground for the next round of special representatives talks to be held in India later this year. In fact, after a 5-year gap, India resumes tourist visas for Chinese nationals. This comes almost a month after resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra on the 30th of June. A federal appeals court in the United States has ruled that President Donald Trump's order seeking to end birthright citizenship is unconstitutional, affirming a lower court decision that blocked its enforcement nationwide. The US president has unveiled an AI action plan that prioritizes deregulation in a bid to better compete with China. America's new executive orders are in line with his campaign promise to reverse Biden-era directives oriented around artificial intelligence safety. Well, our big focus, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in the United Kingdom. He kicked off the first leg of his 2-nation tour as India and the UK prepare to sign a free trade agreement today. During this visit, Mr. Modi and UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer are expected to review ties, with the sides discussing tech, investment, climate, defence, trade, as well as migration. The Prime Minister, as we've been covering, is also scheduled to meet Britain's monarch, King Charles III. But Mr. Modi's visit is fleeting, less than 24 hours long, but he has a packed agenda. Radhika Iyer is in London and she breaks down his plan of action. Listen in.
24th of July is going to be a very busy day for Indian Prime Minister Mr. Modi, but it will be a day that he's going to be very proud of. Same for Sir Keir Starmer, who is his UK counterpart and Prime Minister of this country. The two Prime Ministers are going to be sitting across a table for over 2 hours, not just share a cup of tea, but speak of a variety of agenda items, including extremism, including economic offenders. But the star of that agenda is going to be a free trade agreement, which painstakingly, after more than 3.5 years, is now about to be sealed, that very deal. This is a historic day, a historic moment, one which is touted as a landmark deal. Clear, comprehensive, extremely competitive, and one which is very clever, nicely fought by both sides, which to make it a win-win for both nations, seen as two great dynamic economies of this world, one being the 4th largest in the world and one being the 6th largest in the world. Just to give it some context, the free trade agreement is likely to benefit the UK's GDP by 4.8 billion over a period of years, while India is likely to create over 5 million jobs, support these jobs in a variety of sectors, mainly export, and manufacturing is going to get a huge shot in the arm for India. 99% of India's exports to the United Kingdom, ranging from gems to textiles to processed food, leather goods, several other goods, are likely to see zero tariffs. Similarly, the UK is likely to see 90% of its exports to India, particularly automobiles such as cars, Scottish whisky, which India happens to be the largest consumer of in the world, along with several other goods which Britain sends over to India, will see a 90% cut in tariffs. After this particular signing of the deal that is expected to take place by noon or a little after noon on the 24th of July, Prime Minister Modi will also be meeting during a courtesy meeting with the King, Charles III, considering India continues to hold the status of being a Commonwealth. Radhika Iyer from London, NDTV.
The other big headline we're tracking on the World 24/7. Well, India and China reviewed the current situation along the India-China border in what the Ministry of External Affairs described as an atmosphere of peace and tranquility. The meeting was part of ongoing efforts to manage border issues between the two countries, and the two delegations agreed to maintain regular communication on boundary-related matters through established diplomatic as well as military channels. They also discussed further steps to strengthen effective border management and maintain calm along the line of actual control. In fact, in the recent past, India and China have taken several steps to mend their strained relations, which had sharply deteriorated after the deadly clash between their armed forces in June 2020. By the way, India will resume issuing tourist visas to Chinese citizens from today. This is what its embassy in Beijing has said, the first time in 5 years. And in 2020, if you remember, India had suspended all tourist visas in a bid to contain the spread of COVID-19. But now in a statement, the Embassy of India in China has said that Chinese citizens can apply for a tourist visa to India after completing an online application, scheduling an appointment and personally submitting their passport, as well as other required documents to the Indian visa application centers in either Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou in South China's province. Now, this comes almost a month after the resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra on the 30th of June. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali has been tracking all the action. He joins us with a quick update at the moment. Ghazali, take us through the latest as far as India and China are concerned.
See, yesterday, two major developments happened. One, that India has resumed issuing visa to Chinese nationals. A notification was issued by the Indian embassy back there in Beijing. Then we had a land border talks happening between the working group of India and China headed by the senior officials from both sides. And that has been lauded by both sides, that how the peace in the region, peace along the border areas has been appreciated by both sides, and further engagement will also happen between India and China. And this positive development after Dr. Jaishankar visited China to attend the SCO Foreign Affairs meeting, and also on the sidelines of that he also met Mr. Xi. That shows that perhaps the relations between the two countries are moving in positive direction.
Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with a roundup of all the action. Switching tracks, 4 suspected Al-Qaeda operatives have been arrested from Ahmedabad in a major counter-terror operation by Gujarat ATS. The accused were allegedly in contact with Pakistan-based handlers and were using auto-delete apps to avoid detection. Now, these arrests have sparked concerns over sleeper cells and renewed terror threats, with a key mission being assigned to them through encrypted channels. This raises urgent questions about terror networks quietly expanding within Indian cities. Let's just listen in to what the police has to say.
गुजरात एटीएस के डीवाईएसपी हर्ष उपाध्याय को पिछले 10 जून को एक इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली थी कि 5 इंस्टाग्राम अकाउंट्स हैं जो शरीयत या शहादत, फरदीन 3, मुजाहिद 1, मुजाहिदीन 3, सैफुल्ला मुजाहिद 313, ये जो 5 अकाउंट हैं ये अलकायदा जो एक प्रोस्क्राइब टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, इसकी विचारधारा का प्रचार प्रसार देश में कर रहे हैं। बहुत लोगों को धार्मिक आधार पे डेमोक्रेसी के विरुद्ध, भारत के विरुद्ध इनकी उश्केरनीजनक जो साहित्य है वो इन पे बारंबार शेयर कर रहे हैं। टोटल 4 आरोपियों को आइडेंटिफाई किया गया, जिसमें फरदीन शेख जो है वो अहमदाबाद का रहने वाला है, मोहम्मद फैक चांदनी चौक दिल्ली का रहने वाला है, जिशान अली नोएडा का रहने वाला है और सैफुल्ला कुरैशी जो है वो मोडासा अरवली का रहने वाला है।
Let's turn our attention now to Bangladesh, where a rights group has demanded an independent investigation into the Air Force jet crash that killed many in Dhaka. But India has sent a medical team consisting of 2 specialists and a nursing assistant from Delhi's Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital and Safdarjung Hospital to assist with the treatment of the burn victims of the Bangladesh plane crash tragedy, that occurred on the 21st of July. The team has landed in Dhaka and they have begun their work at a designated hospital, treating the patients from this morning. The team's visit follows Prime Minister Modi's assurance to extend all possible assistance and support to Bangladesh. Turning our attention now to the United States, where a federal appeals court in the US has ruled that President Donald Trump's order seeking to end birthright citizenship is unconstitutional. This affirms a lower court decision that blocked its enforcement nationwide. But the ruling from a divided panel of the 9th US Circuit Court of Appeals comes after Trump's plan was also blocked by a federal judge in New Hampshire. It brings the issue one step closer to coming back quickly before the Supreme Court. But the 9th Circuit blocks the Trump administration from enforcing the order that would deny citizenship to children born to people who are in the United States illegally or temporarily. In staying with updates from the US, back in May, Attorney General Pam Bondi told US President Donald Trump that his name appeared in internal Justice Department files related to the Epstein case. The meeting took place at the White House and included Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, and it wasn't a casual aside, according to 2 senior officials who were present, reports state. Bondi also apparently made it clear that Trump's name was among those flagged during a review of documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein. These weren't new allegations or charges. The Justice Department in the US had revisited the Epstein investigation following public and political pressure and concluded again that there was no credible evidence of criminal conduct and no justification for reopening the case. But the names, they were still there. Trump's was one of them. Now 2 months later, Trump is claiming he was never told. Let's turn our attention now to Canada, where Prime Minister Mark Carney has said his country will not accept a bad deal simply to reach a trade agreement with the United States, as a deadline of the 1st of August looms before Donald Trump begins to impose new tariffs. US importers buying in goods from Canada will face a 35% tax if no deal is reached before the deadline. But the neighbors, as you know, are among each other's largest trading partners, but have been in a standoff after Trump returned to the White House earlier this year and unleashed a sweeping program of tariffs. Don't forget, Canada actually sells about 3/4 of its goods to the United States. In addition to metals and lumber, Canada exports large quantities of oil, cars and car parts, other machinery, pharmaceuticals and food. Maha Siddiqui has been tracking all the finer developments live in Vancouver. She joins us at the moment. Maha, take us through the latest developments.
Parmeshwar, this statement by Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, now makes it uncertain whether this deal between the US and Canada will be signed before the 1st of August, which is the new deadline that the two sides set. Remember, the initial deadline was 21st of July, and then it was moved to the 1st of August. And now with the statement, it's uncertain whether even that deadline will be adhered to, even though President Donald Trump has said that from the 1st of August, the new tariff that will be imposed on all goods from Canada will be 35%. This is going to be a sweeping, punishing tariff against Canada if it actually happens. This is because there's already a 50% tariff on aluminum and steel, 25% tariff on automobiles, and a 10% tariff on energy, which is already having a crippling effect on the economy of Canada. And that is the reason that the two sides, especially Canada, was interested in striking a good deal for itself. And that's really the word that is being underlined by Prime Minister Mark Carney, that if it's not a good deal for Canada, then he's not going to sign on that deal. This is what he's told the premiers of the various provinces who were meeting in Ontario. This was a meeting organized by the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, who has been at the forefront, really, apart from Prime Minister Mark Carney, in responding to President Trump's tariffs and punishing tariffs against Canada. He has told the premiers that he's not going to sign on anything that is not going to be good for Canada. And this has been backed by the various premiers. So this is giving a sort of domestic backing to Prime Minister Mark Carney as well. The Premier of Nova Scotia, Tim Houston, in fact, also spoke about it, saying after the meeting, in fact, saying that Prime Minister Mark Carney has made it clear that only a good deal will be signed for Canada. This meeting was also significant because while Canada is trying to act against the US because of the tariffs, they are trying to strengthen their own economy and try to break interprovincial barriers of trade so that there is more trade east to west within Canada rather than north to south trade that they are so badly dependent on the United States.
Maha, as always, thank you so much for joining us with the lowdown. Let's switch tracks now. International master Divya Deshmukh scripted history by storming into the final of the FIDE Women's World Chess Cup, defeating former world champion Zhong Yitan of China. With this win, Divya also became the first Indian ever to qualify for the Women's Candidates Tournament, which will decide the next challenger for world champion Wenjun Zhu. Rika Roy reports.
At just 19, Divya Deshmukh is rewriting the script for Indian chess. Calm, focused and fearless, the Nagpur-based Grandmaster defeated top-seeded opponents to book her place in the final of the FIDE Women's Championship. Her semi-final clash was nothing short of a thriller, a 5-hour-long battle of nerves and strategy. But Divya held her ground, displaying maturity well beyond her years. A prodigy from the age of 6, Divya's rise has been meteoric. She's already a former Asian champion and a vital part of India's Olympiad winning team. Messages have poured in from across the chess world, hailing her as the future of Indian chess and perhaps its present too. Divya now faces the toughest test of her career, the FIDE Women's Championship final. But with the country watching and history within reach, she is already a champion in every sense. Osama Shah for NDTV.
Slipping into a quick break, back in a moment with the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
Vanakkam Tamil Nadu.
Well, the battle for Tamil Nadu 2026 is open now.
After Chief Minister Stalin rolls up his sleeves.
And Vijay steps in as a star challenger.
This is a mass gathering, not for cash.
Meanwhile, a former Chief Minister, Edapadi Palanisamy, begins his fight back.
The big comeback campaign by EPS has well and truly begun.
These are all the ultimate players, and this is going to be the ultimate test.
Well, in the latest episode of Control All Defense, we are talking about a platform that all of you want to hear about, that's Tejas. The big question, we do know it's a great platform, but is it of use for the Indian Air Force going into the future? How relevant will it remain?
Iran has agreed to allow a technical team from the UN nuclear watchdog to visit in the coming weeks to discuss relations between the International Atomic Energy Agency and Tehran. This is what Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister has said. The delegation will come to Iran to discuss not to go to the nuclear sites, he told reporters during a visit to New York for meetings at the United Nations. US Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released newly declassified documents that, according to her, reveal efforts by senior Obama administration officials to politicize intelligence findings related to Russian interference in the 2016 US presidential election. During a press briefing, Gabbard claimed the Obama administration deliberately crafted a false narrative suggesting Russian President Vladimir Putin worked to help Donald Trump win the 2016 election. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky vowed to retain the independence of anti-corruption agencies, bowing to pressure from the first wartime street protests and rare rebukes from European allies. For a second day in a row, thousands of people across the city, as you can see, from Kharkiv in the northeast to the capital Kiev to Lviv in the west, took to the streets demanding reversal of the law, curbing the independence of anti-graft agencies. Okay, now here's the good news. The Hershey company says it's not raising prices for Halloween candy this year. But now to the bad news. Hershey and other chocolate makers are continuing to hike prices, saying a volatile cocoa market gives them no choice. By the way, Swiss chocolatier Lindt said it raised prices by over 15% in the first half of this year. The company said it was able to offset some of the higher cost of cocoa with long-term contracts, but had to pass much of it on to consumers. Cocoa prices have more than doubled over the past 2 years due to poor weather and disease in West Africa, which supplies more than 70% of the world's cocoa. Meanwhile, Marcus Rashford arrived in Barcelona ahead of an official announcement confirming his loan move from Manchester United. It's a season-long loan move to a La Liga club, Barcelona, with the Catalan Giants having the option of signing the England international on a permanent basis for a whopping £30.3 million in 2026. Barcelona will cover the entirety of Rashford's wages during his time at the club after the forward agreed to take a pay cut. Removing Rashford from the wage bill is expected to save United between 14 to 15 million pounds over the next 12 months.
Yeah, you can tell them now. It's official. Let's do this. Visca el Barça.
Meanwhile, Taylor Swift is coming to a city near you in wax form. Well, Madame Tussauds unveiled 13 new wax figures of the superstar, with each replicating a look from her recent record-breaking Eras tour. Fans across 4 continents will soon have the opportunity to catch a glimpse of Swift, Taylor's wax version. Switching tracks, India started brilliantly in the Manchester Test but lost crucial moments. And even though youngsters Yashasvi Jaiswal and Sai Sudarshan scored half-centuries, Rishabh Pant's freak injury would become the biggest worry for Team India. They actually ended the day on 264 for 4. Take a look at the highlights.
Feature or characteristic of the pitches when I played here was that it was probably the fastest pitch.
England delivered testing spells, but KL Rahul and Yashasvi Jaiswal ensured a wicketless first session as the Sun played hide-and-seek on day 1 of Manchester Test.
Brings up the 50 for India.
Wokes beat Jaiswal's bat twice in the opening over and even snapped his back handle, but the left-hander responded with confident strokes as India went for lunch at 78 for no loss.
But the good part is he was just trying to leave the ball.
Wokes ended the opening stand on 94. Jaiswal continued to frustrate England and reached his 8th 50-plus score in 16 innings against them after lunch. The Mumbai Southpaw scored 58.
Beautifully bowled. First Test wicket for 8 years.
Rishabh Pant delighted the Manchester crowd once again. He was the aggressor and Sudarshan the accumulator in their 72-run stand. Pant now has 89 sixes in Test cricket. Only 8 batters have more sixes than him.
Oh dear.
But it was a heartbreak for the Indian vice-captain. A bizarre injury forced him to retire hurt on 37.
Because he's in a lot of pain.
He attempted to reverse sweep Chris Wokes, but hit himself straight onto his foot. The hit clearly did some damage. Sai Sudarshan displayed a variety of strokes, vindicating India's decision to leave out Karun Nair. He scored 61.
And stroke play inside this man.
India closed the day on 264 for 4, but a lot will depend on the outcome of Rishabh Pant's condition on day 2 in Manchester.
Thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
कहना इस दीवार पे इतने इश्तहार चिपके हैं कि कोई दरार नज़र नहीं आती। मैं उन लोगों में से जो कहता हूँ सारे इश्तहार फाड़ के फेंको, पहले दरार को एड्रेस करो।
ये दरार इसलिए क्योंकि कुछ लेफ्ट कुछ राइट, पर हम उन मुद्दों में आपके साथ जिनसे आपकी फाइट है। डिजिटल से देश समझा, अब टीवी पर समाधान लाना है। आइए मेरे साथ खबरों की कचहरी में सिर्फ NDTV पर।
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Some say sport is a matter of life and death. The truth is, it is far more serious than that. Sport is about ecstasy and agony, about pain and suffering, about joy and much more. Some say there's no one better to tell these stories. So here I am. Join me, Boria Majumdar, on India's #1 news network.
आप एक गुंडे कैसे बिहेव कर रहे हो सर?
मेरी
आप तो एक
आपने मेरा
Gaikwad is running away from NDTV's questions.
That issue is not before the High Command. It was not discussed so far.
Kolhapuri couples costing $1,300.
The noise we made finally got heard, and it's so nice that somebody took action on it.
Pictures and videos of women that were taken in the Bengaluru metro, now on Church Street and other prominent places in Bengaluru. We managed to arrest both of them.
We are bringing you now, for the very first time, is that the Air India preliminary crash report is out.
This 15-page report into 10 key findings of what really is being said in this probe report.
What's reporting without impact? NDTV 24/7.
जनता के पास सवाल ही सवाल है, जवाब ढूंढने को वो देखती है न्यूज और देखती है यहाँ तो सवालों का मायाजाल है। ऊपर से ये अलग फाइट है, कोई पूरा लेफ्ट तो कोई पूरा राइट है, बीच में मुद्दे के साथ कौन है, जनता को जवाब चाहिए। इसीलिए